Welcome to a fresh approach for the beginning percussion class. In this video lesson, I'm going to be covering the tambourine. I introduced the tambourine on lesson number 4 in book 1 of a fresh approach for the beginning percussion class. And then in this video lesson, I'm just covering the topics that we need for lesson 4, which is how to hold and how to properly strike the instrument. Now, the tambourine doesn't get a lot of respect because we see tambourines all over the place. You probably saw them in elementary school. You played around with tambourines. Maybe you've seen them in church, and maybe you've seen rock bands where somebody has a tambourine, they're shaking it, and they're hitting it on their side, and they're doing all kinds of funny things with it. But the tambourine as a percussion instrument is a very important accessory or complementary percussion instrument. The tambourine generally is made with a shell. It has a row or multiple rows of jingles. We call these jingles because they make a jingle sound. And then most concert percussion tambourines have a head on them. Now let's get into a couple of specifics about good tambourines. So, there's all kinds of bad tambourines out there. There are cheap ones. There are ones that are meant for rock bands, and there's ones that have painted stuff on them. But for a concert percussionist who is serious about their art or their craft, you're going to find tambourines that have generally a wooden shell. Okay? We make these shells out of wood and a very light wood, so they're not very heavy. I've seen tambourines that have a wood shell but have all this metal hardware, and it's just incredibly heavy, and it's really hard to do the things that we need to do. So you want a shell that is made of wood. The top head is generally a skin head, a calf skin head or a fiber skin head that has a very distinct muted sound to it. Sometimes you'll see heads that are made of plastic, and sometimes you'll see tambourines that are broken and the head is busted or there's no head at all. But a good tambourine will have a nice calf skin head or synthetic fiber skin head that is glued onto the shell. The other thing, tambourines vary in size. You can get very big tambourines for really low pitch, really loud playing. You can get very small tambourines for very delicate playing at very soft volume levels. Also, you'll see tambourines that have one row of jingles. Sometimes you'll see 2 rows of jingles. Now, when we get really into tambourine playing, as you get to be more of a professional and serious percussionist, you'll see tambourines that have different types of alloys that they make jingles out of. It could be a bronze alloy, it could be a silver alloy, it could be something in between, because the different alloys give a tambourine different sound qualities. This bronze alloy is really nice because it has a very low kind of jingle to it. So a silver alloy is going to have a nice bright jingle to it. So anyway, that's enough about the tambourine. Let's talk about how to hold it. Now, a tambourine generally has the row of jingles around, but it does have this one space here, sometimes with a hole in it, usually with a hole in it, and this is where we're going to grip the tambourine, okay? Now, the hole is not where you stick your finger. You can, but the hole is for mounting. If I want to put this on a cymbal stand and mount it for when I have to move back and forth between other things. But generally, for the hole, this is just the area that we grip the tambourine. Now, you can grip the tambourine with your right hand or your left hand. Okay? Most players like to grip the tambourine with their non-dominant hand because this hand is going to be doing the holding. This hand is going to be doing the playing, at least until we get into rolls and all of those type of things. So what I'm going to do is just hold the tambourine here. I'm going to wrap my hand around. It's pretty simple. Make sure that I have my fingers under the tambourine and then my thumb on top. Now, you can use your fingers here underneath the tambourine to mute the sound of the head, to give it a little muffling or dampening, or you can leave your fingers off for no dampening. Listen to the sound difference between open, where no fingers are touching the head. I just have my thumb on the side of the shell. So you hear that ho, 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 ho. You hear that head resonate. I can use my fingers here. I can use all of my fingers to muffle the tambourine, the head of the tambourine, so it has a very dry staccato sound. Or I can use just one or two, depending on what sound that I want. Now, in general, for what we're doing here as a beginning percussionist, I just want you to hold the tambourine. I want you to put your thumb on top. You can use that to stabilize the tambourine, okay? So it's going to have just a little bit of muffling with my thumb, but my bottom fingers are just holding the tambourine shell. All right, next thing you need to know is how to hold it, or where to play it, where to hold it. Any percussion instrument, we want to start off being very, very relaxed. Our shoulders are relaxed, our neck is relaxed, and we want to just basically bring the instrument up to where our arms are parallel to the floor. All right? You can hold the tambourine up very high. You can, what many players will tell you is that any instrument, accessory instrument in the percussion section, you need to hold the instrument up for the audience to hear it and to see it. So if I'm in a concert and I have my music stand here, I want my tambourine to be above that. Not only does it affect the sound quality, if I have it down here but behind a bunch of instruments and things, it's not going to be as clear as if I have it up in a direct line of listening for the audience, but also the audience generally likes to see what it is that you're playing. Percussion is a very visual instrument. We want to show them what we got. So as I'm picking up the tambourine, I want to hold it about chest level. So I want this elbow to be relaxed, okay? I don't need it way up here. I don't want it down here. I want my elbow to be relaxed and to hold the tambourine at chest level. Now the next thing is the angle of the tambourine. So if I hold the tambourine straight up and down, vertical to the floor, I'm going to get a very wet jingle sound, because those jingles don't have anything, they just kind of rattle around. So you hear a little bit of that. If I turn it flat, the jingles rest on each other, so a very short sound. So we're going to go halfway between. I want to go with about a 45-degree angle to my tambourine. So 45, this is 90, this is 0, 45 is about halfway between that. So again, take up a little space. I don't want this to be close to my body. I don't want it to be very far out. Okay, I want to be as relaxed as possible, which means my elbows are close to my body. I want to pick up the tambourine about chest level, then I'm going to strike it with my dominant hand. Now, in general, there's a bunch of ways to strike the tambourine, but what we want is the most clear sound possible. So what I want you to do is to put your thumb and your first two fingers together to make almost like a beak, a bird beak. So if you just pretended like there was a bird, there's a beak on the bird, that is what we're going to use to strike the tambourine. Now, that's a general way of striking the tambourine. Pretty simple. What we need to do is also pay attention to where on the tambourine we're striking. In the center of the tambourine, you're going to get a lot of head sound. You're going to hear that attack of the head. As I get closer to the edge, if I played on the very edge, I get more of the shell and the jingle sound. So I want a little bit of a mix between the two, so I'm going to move a little bit off center of that that head. This would be considered the node, as we talked about on keyboard or timpani. The center of any drum is the node. We want to play a little bit off of the node so we get the most resonant sound possible. Now we'll go into more depth in other lessons about the different types of, using one finger for softer playing, going to the edge, using even a fist for really loud playing. We'll go into that in another video, but for this lesson, what I want to do is make my little bird beak, hold the tambourine nice and relaxed, a little bit away from your body, and then play it a little bit off center. Pretty simple when it comes down to it. Now, before we get into the line itself and the ensemble, Clair de Lune ensemble, what's important about any percussion instrument is that we learn that they all make noise. And when you're in a rehearsal or you're in a performance, before and after you play an instrument, you need to learn how to pick it up, put it in position without making a sound. So we don't want to throw it on a table and make noise when we're picking it up or setting it down. I always like to have a tray table. I don't have it here, I should, but a tray table that has a soft padding on to set the tambourine down so it makes no sound. I'm going to pick it up flat so the jingles don't rattle. I'm going to turn it to a 45 as quietly as possible. Give myself plenty of time before I start playing the tambourine. So, not only is playing the tambourine important and all the techniques, but how you treat the tambourine, how you set it down quietly, how you pick it up quietly also makes a big difference. Okay? Now let's run through the etude itself. This is just quarter notes, half notes, and repeat signs, just like we have been doing in the snare part. So at any point, if your band director or your percussion instructor wants to give you something fun to do during the whole class, he or she could say, hey, why don't you play tambourine on all of the appendix lines, and then everybody else will play snare drum. Kind of gives everybody the chance to play the tambourine and to get used to the techniques involved and making it sound great. All right, let's look at the first line. Very simple here. Quarter note, half note, half note, half note, eighth notes, quarter note, quarter note. Now, again, we're not doing stickings, so you have to know your rhythm patterns. All right, so we're going to take a slowish tempo. Let's go about 80 beats per minute. I think that we can sight read the top line here. All right, tambourine parts generally the note heads are a different shape than the snare drum part. Sometimes they're regular note heads. I like to put diamond note heads just to make sure that everybody knows that this is not a snare drum part. Okay? Sometimes they're written on one line, sometimes they're just in a musical staff. This is all written on one line. So let's try that first line. Here we go. And 1, 2, set and go. Quarter note, 2, 3, 4. Half note, half note, half note, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3. Repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Half note, half note, half note, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3. Go on. 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. All right. So if you don't have a tambourine and you're trying this as a class or you're at home practicing, you can also use your practice pad. Okay, this gets a little heavy, especially if you have a big old stock pad like this, but you can also have the entire class or practice this at home without a tambourine by using your practice pad. Not a lot of fun, but it is available to do. All right, so first line, any problems? If you have any problems counting that, then you really probably haven't worked through all of your snare drum parts for learning how to count quarters and eighth notes and half notes. But you can always go to PadLab, see the tambourine part of Clair de Lune, select Clair de Lune ensemble, first keyboard, then snare drum, then tambourine. Just isolate the tambourine and work on that, and you'll see me play the tambourine. Okay? All right, second line. Now remember, we said that it begins here with a rest, and anytime I have that block that holds onto a line, it is a whole rest. It also takes up a whole measure. So a whole measure is 4 counts, and I have 2 of those. So guess what? I'm resting for 2 whole measures, and those are whole rests. After that, 1, 2, and 3, 4. It's pretty simple, right? I mean, it's not anything tough to do. Let's play the whole second line. Here we go. 1, 2, set and go. Rest. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4. Okay, so it's not very difficult all the way through this just to read the rhythms. Let's play the entire 2 lines of the ensemble. Remember that I have a repeat sign in the top line. When I get to the end of the first line, I go automatically to the second line. So I have to look ahead just to see that I don't play on the downbeat. Then I play my second line. Now, the difficult part about this is not playing your part, it's playing it in the ensemble with the other players. So not only do I have to show all the proper techniques and how to hold and how to strike the tambourine with my perfect bird's grip or bird's beak here, but I also have to concentrate on my part no matter what the other parts are playing. Okay, because they do not have the same rhythms that you do. So you have to concentrate and read this. So let's play all the way through. 100 beats per minute, which is about the tempo of the PadLab. Okay, see if we can play all the way through the tambourine part without mistakes. 1. Actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to start from here, and we're going to pick up the tambourine, and then we're going to play when I count you in. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, and 1, 2, set and go. Half note, half note, half note. Repeat. 1, 2. Half note, half note, half note. And 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Okay, and then we place it back down very gently as to not make any sound. So if you'll notice while I'm playing a couple of things, I look like I am playing the part. Okay, I'm very intense on looking at the director while I'm playing and going back and forth between the director and my music, but I also want to engage with the audience. Any percussion instrument that you play, they're very interested in what you're playing. There's not much visual to watching a clarinet player, unless they really move around a lot. In watching a band, the percussion is what people are interested in because we have all the fun stuff. So make sure that as you're playing, your eyes are open, you're very engaged with the conductor, and that you're actually using the right technique. So don't just keep your head down and do this, all right? It's all about the way we project ourselves. Now, before we finish this lesson, I want to talk about the complementary and accessory instruments that we all share as percussionists. Anytime that you are a percussionist, you're going to have instruments that you own. Let's say you own a snare drum, you own a practice pad, your sticks, your mallets. Maybe you own a keyboard. But there are going to be millions, hundreds of instruments that are not necessarily yours. These are communal instruments. I doubt very strongly that your band director said, all of you need to buy this tambourine and come in tomorrow. Probably 1 or 2 tambourines in the whole band department, and you get to share that. So we need to learn how to take care and respect our instruments. Tambourine, like any other instruments, I don't write on the heads. I don't take my sweaty hands and sit there and mess with it, because I don't want all that grease and stuff from my hands. I want to make sure my hands are clean while I'm holding the instrument. And I also want to properly store the instrument. Now, most higher end tambourines like this will come with a nice zipper bag. So I want to put my tambourine in the bag, I want to zip it up, and I want to store that within a cabinet or a place where other players won't mess with it. Okay, if you don't have a bag, you could probably find something that is the right size. I would really recommend finding some type of bag so you're not just shoving this in a drawer, but having some type of bag that keeps the dust and grime away from it. Okay, treat any instrument properly and it will last forever. Next thing is, on the storage conversation, is that other players in the band and random people love to play percussion instruments. They love to see it. They think of these instruments as toys. We know as percussionists, they're not toys, they're instruments. So if they see this laying out on a table or on the floor, if it's laying out, they're likely to pick it up and start playing with it. And they would play with it as a toy because they have no respect for the instrument. They're likely to throw it around. They're likely to shake it. They're likely to do all the stuff they see for tambourines. But we, as percussionists, respect our instruments. So we always need to keep these out of sight, out of mind of anybody in any rehearsal that you're not actually using the tambourine. All right. Finally, making sure that you have mastered this etude. If you need any extra help on woodshedding the part itself, go to PadLab. On the Clair de Lune ensemble in PadLab, I break down all 3 parts. There's the mallet part, there's the snare drum part, and there's a tambourine part. Can't really remember which order I did them, but you'll see in that PadLab, if you use that chapter marker, you can jump to just the tambourine and you can select just the tambourine lines and work on that part. You have to be able to know your part perfectly to be able to play it in the ensemble. So making sure that you're playing with a great quality of sound, that you look great, you're very engaged, and you can nail all of the rhythms in perfect tempo. And then when you put it in the ensemble, it's going to be fun to not only play, but fun to listen to. So this is the first of several lessons on the tambourine, but very, very important to get that very basic holding and striking position. So nail this down and then have fun playing Clair de Lune.